Welcome to the Leo MonWell Podcast. On this episode, I have a very special guest here. I couldn't think of anyone out of all of my network of people to fly into Orlando to talk about success other than this very special guest. The one with the most to talk about. AJ on success. Welcome, AJ.
Thank you, Leo, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, knowing your busy schedule, why'd you give me your time?
I always have time for you, especially anything that's helping other people, and you know that.
What do? You said helping other people.
Well, I believe in entrepreneurship and having your hand in multiple buckets. It's a necessity to be successful. So I am an entrepreneur. I also work as a licensed health and life insurance agent as well. So I have my hand in a few buckets.
I think one of those buckets is stocks.
Yes. I dabble in that.
I mean, you've pushed it on me a few times.
Yes, I believe everyone should invest and take the time to learn about their options because it's all about education.
My first step. Now that we have all the nonsense and all the noise and all the people away from us and it's just me and you, tell me how I would get into the stocks.
Well, the first way is opening up a brokerage account. If you have an account with a Wells Fargo or a Bank of America or TD Ameritrade, which I personally have, I'm not, promoting them, but it's all about having a brokerage account. Then from there, I would pick stocks based on what your interests are, not necessarily what the market trend is. There are EFTs, which are a great way to get into stocks. They're basically a bunch of stocks that are compounded into one index that you can basically invest in as much as one penny to as much as one stock would cost per company that you're interested in. So we could say Google stock, $400 per stock. If you have $4, you'll be able to invest in the EFT that way. So I believe everyone should just do their own education. Definitely, if you have a job as well, I will look into the options they have available with your 401k. Also, health savings accounts are a great way to get into finance. Great way to learn how to invest as well with those health savings accounts and those tax advantages. So I would just say learn about your benefits, learn about what you already had an option and access to. You don't have to be a genius to get into investing. You just have to be someone who's hungry for knowledge.
The way you broke that down in literally 30 seconds or less, like it was a hot and ready pizza ready to go, I have a question for you.
Okay.
It's a little bit sensitive. I don't want to offend anybody, but why don't people who look like you and I do it more?
I think that's a misconception. I think that
There are black people on Wall Street, is what you're telling me.
they actually stocks were created based off of our stock as live stock.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Stop it. What does that mean?
So basically, the beginning of the stock market was created based off of the Atlantic slave trade market. And a lot of people don't know that. The original banking system that was created, I won't bring up any names, but the original banking system that was created and some trading companies through different monarchies throughout the world created this system that was allowed to basically create the first pound, as you would say, or sterling or shilling. And that's how the stock market got created. In order to protect that stock, it had to be insured. And then there's a process of protecting that. So it's a whole history that I believe everyone should take the time to learn about because it's a long-lasting history.
Okay, what I'm hearing in between the lines is, right, if stocks equal success for many of us, but there's also a dark side to stocks. Like literally livestock became stock. Livestock became stock.
Yeah.
Right?
Literally.
What I'm hearing is that would you agree that certain people, maybe not all, find their success on other people's backs?
I mean, if we're getting into that, then yes, that is how the whole system that we live in was created.
Capitalism or just the world is?
Well, the world economy as a whole was created off of free labor from a specific group of people. So if we really want to get into that, then that's a whole different topic. And I'm not someone who's educated enough to even break all the intersectionality of that down. But I do want us to be aware of that. We are involved. We've always been involved. I just don't think that we've had a voice to be able to be heard, or have as many of us know about the stories of our ancestors who've been involved in this market and in all the ways possible, from being sold and also selling our own. So it's a whole deep, intricate thing when we break down that system.
Wow. Crazy. Like literally, that there is such a dark side to how people make and capitalize on other people's suffering and pain that we have books and books on it. How do you, as a savvy, successful entrepreneur in the big state of Georgia, how do you find and grow your money in a positive way? Or, sorry, have you done some bad things too? Not bad, but have you kind of followed into the corporate capitalism like the rest of us try to avoid?
I don't think I followed in anything that isn't positive. And I think that capitalism can be positive for our community. I think the only way to really uplift our community is through means and financial means. And community as a whole needs to use our resources to do a lot of the things that we can do for ourselves and uplift ourselves. So I don't think capitalism should be looked at as a negative thing. I just think we need to look at how we are using capitalism and our access to it as far as equity goes, and allowing us to even be in the door. You know, a lot of DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, partnerships and positions have been terminated. And so we have to rethink about what it is that's important to us as a whole. So I don't think me investing in my community and myself is anything but positive. I think we need to have more of that.
So, what would you say to me or any other person who's maybe questioning you or questioning my motives? Why is it important for me, let's just say me, Leo MonWell, as a Black entrepreneur, to provide funding, means, revenue, resources to other Black people? If anybody questioned that or said that was untoward, what would you say? How would you challenge that or push back?
Well, everything doesn't have to be labeled necessarily Black. You know, we are Black. That doesn't even need to be spoken. Like, we live in our Blackness. What we choose to do with our money doesn't necessarily have to be labeled behind any said Black organization. I think what everybody needs to focus on is their community and who they're closest to. Like Issa Rae said, everybody has an A team that's close to them in a network. So focus on your A team, your friends and family, and sharing information with them, people who you're already comfortable with. Asking questions within your close community. If you don't know something, humble yourself enough to be able to ask maybe an elder who you see does. You know, we need to get back to that. So that would be my answer to that, is just community isn't anything negative, and we need more community amongst Black entrepreneurs, or brown, or anyone who is the global majority. We are not the minority, and I just want people to understand that. So just share amongst your community and grow your internet, your intersex, your close network, and just focus on what you're close to instead of what seems so far away, so far-fetched.
So I want to share some information with you and audience. If you've heard of it or you push back or you know the resource, write it in the comments. But I have TikTok information that came out that I want to share with you, and I want to see how you felt about it. So they said that, I believe, and again, leave it in the comments, TikTok, it's hot.
Okay.
They say that the Asian community circulates their money within their own community for 28 days. The Jewish community circulates their money, their dollar, within their community for 17 days. And before I give you how much time the Black dollar circulates in our community, would you like to take a guess?
I believe it's what, 2 hours?
It's 6.
6 hours?
6 hours.
Okay, so I was a little off there, but I'm definitely aware of what you're speaking about.
Correct.
Not to say that we can't take any accountability for where we are as a people. We just always have to reference, like, there was a time where we were as a segregated people, and there was a time when we had places like Tulsa, Oklahoma, that were segregated, thriving communities, and we weren't allowed to sustain those. So there has been examples of what we have been capable to do as a people, and we can do those again if left alone to do those things. We know what to do in our communities. We know who needs help in our communities. We know where the information is in our communities. If we're left alone to help and be amongst each other, we'll be able to solve our problems. So that's what I firmly believe about that.
It's kind of like going to a city in the middle of the night and taking it apart might dismantle its financial infrastructure. Just saying. Sounds like going to New York City and having a successful black city be put underwater sounds like it would dismantle its financial infrastructure. So ultimately, when we're talking about the history of success, especially for black people, right? If black people aren't left to their own devices, it's bad enough that African Americans have been indentured, ripped apart, ripped away from their homeland, ripped away from their culture, right? So innately taking all forms of success away from them, right? The ability to succeed. Then when they are developing, right, they're freed, thrown on the side of the road, right? Now you say, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, right? And then we do it. But then what happens after, right? We get dismantled. Knowing the history, knowing the context, do you think, and again, it's another sensitive subject, but
I already know what you're going to ask me.
well, you tell me what you think. Read my mind.
Reparation.
Ooh. Wasn't where I was going, but let's go there. No, let's go there.
Reparations, absolutely. Repair.
Define reparations before you dig deeper.
So reparations is something that the enslaved ancestors and the children of the ancestors of those that were brought over here during the slave era or the Atlantic slave trade, they are asking for reparations for what has been done to their families and the generations of slavery. And of course, white supremacy and racism has done to African Americans in this country. So reparations is to repair the damage that has been done to that lineage. And, I firmly believe in that. I know that there's some ancestors that I have that believe in Jubilee. And Jubilee is basically you give back what you took, so you just pay back what you took instead of the reparations angle. And I know a lot of Black Republicans believe in Jubilee. So, there's just different ways of looking at how we can take and fix and take accountability for what has happened. But until America's ready to take that as a whole, we just need to do that within our own families because we have our own traumas from that period that we're still not speaking about or acknowledging. So if we can focus on that again, we can start doing our own reparation.
So one thing I want to pull from this and go back to another part is that I said, what would you say to anybody who's clapping back on Black people supporting their own? I want to tie that in with what you just said. The specific things that have happened to us here, from what I'm hearing from you, is a unique circumstances happened to a group of people here, us and the indigenous, right? So we have a very specific, let's say, purpose in healing each other.
Yeah, in a form of like oppression that is, unique to African American people, specifically, and not even speaking on the diaspora of Black people in America, because there's African Americans who also have family who are intertwined with that. And that's a whole nother conversation there. But there should be nothing wrong with Black people helping other Black people, which is something that we've always have done, and that is something that we did throughout segregation and would have had to continue to do if integration never happened.
Those are fighting words for some people.
I mean, I'm not saying that integration was wrong. No, integration was definitely necessary, especially when you think about colleges and, medical facilities and access to like healthcare, as you know. And education as a whole, that we did need integration.
Yeah, and you can look at it and I say those are fighting words for some people because certain people have used integration as a way to benefit themselves, not necessarily the total population. It has been very much a way, if we're looking at success as an infrastructure, right? If I lost free labor, right? I have to create a dynamic that keeps my free labor coming back, right? So what do? I intensify the police system, like focus on small crimes, get people in bondage, break up homes, and then I make integration a part of it, right? So that way the own group of people which had to rely on themselves has to go outside. So now we create this mantra of all business that's Black is bad, right? Because before, when we were forced to integrate with 1 to 2 or 3 plumbers that were Black, we had to fix it. So if the service was bad, we had to fix it. Yo, bro, you messed up my pipes. No one's going to use you. So we had to resolve and remediate as a community, which allowed for us to be successful. But then now we're open to going to anybody. So now we can go to the Asian or the white or the Jewish person down the street. And of course, they're going to smile at us, whatever. And so we just give the Black plumber one chance. They're done forever. And then we go to everybody else and basically skip back when we feel that it's most convenient. Do you agree? Do you not agree with anything I'm saying?
I mean, I know that is a common theory, but there has been so many successful Black businesses from the beginning of capitalism, and we've always been involved in having successful businesses and working with each other. I think we just need to see more examples of successful Black businesses working with other successful Black businesses.
Interesting.
I think that a lot of media and a lot of us ourselves perpetuate certain ideas about ourselves and misconceptions because it's easy. When you start breaking down race, then you have intersectionality about class, and that's a lot about classism is what you're talking about. So, that's a conversation in itself that we would have to break down that would take so much more time. But we have always been working with each other, supporting each other. We just need to see more examples of that. And I think that will help curtail that kind of theory. And I think it's just, another way of people justifying their not supporting Black businesses.
Interesting. And I think it's so important to understand that this isn't like an overnight situation that occurred. Fixing it's not going to be overnight, and kind of putting it into like a one bullet situation, a one sentence situation. Like it literally making a whole community unsuccessful is literally intentional and strategic.
Yeah.
But I'll say this. I am not pro reparations in the way that we talk about it, going back to that, right? So I think what it's come out and maybe again, we have different schools of thought. Some people who think of reparations think of it as like, we total up the value of what has happened to us as a people, and then we give that out into individual checks. I am not a fan of that. I'm personally a fan of what reparations, to me, the spirit of reparations was to fix infrastructure that was taken from us. We were in our own country. We were independent. We were thriving, right? So to me, the dollar amount that comes from our suffering needs to specifically be overseen by our committees of Black excellence and put back into infrastructure, whether that's college programs, fixing up, cleaning our communities, supporting our communities, whatever we need to do. Individual checks, I'm not sure if that's successful for us because COVID checks, they came and went. And I don't know if they went for things they were supposed to go for.
Well, I have to disagree with you. When you think about, you can't really put a price tag on that.
That what?
Slavery or what occurred, right? And I get it. You say you're not for the cash payments. But what would be the benefit of us channeling the money through Black committees that would channel it through the same institutions of white supremacy that got us here in the first place?
Interesting.
So when you say don't give us the money, it's kind of like not repairing anything because we still have not been left alone to our own devices to make our own choices. And even when we had the Freedmen's Bank, that was taken away from us when, unfortunately, they gave up on Reconstruction in the South after the Civil War. So again, even when we had a banking system that was allowed to freedmen, free slaves, to invest their money, that money was taken from them. So we've never been left alone to our own devices in any capacity.
So it sounds like we're on the same page. I think where the breakdown in our agreement is we both agree that Black minds / Black communities in charge of said funding can be successful and have done so. Correct? We're agreeing on that. What we're not agreeing on is that too much outside intervention, right, is ultimately going to lead to failure. Like people getting involved, people removing, people taking away things, right? So we agree that the Black minds can fix Black problems, even though those problems aren't innately created by us.
Correct.
Right? We agree to that.
100%.
Right? I think where my thing comes in, right, is that when we give like the whole dollar amount, I'm not saying people shouldn't have restitution.
I don't know what the dollar amount is.
Oh, so let me tell you. So when we talk about the dollar amount, economists, right? I love this too. I'll have to find the exact quote and drop it in the comments. But economists have done like the amount, right? They were like, they went through all 400 years of slavery from when people were first picked up, what that looked like, how many deaths, how many people were thrown overboard, how many people were enslaved, how many wrongful deaths, how many early terminated pregnancies, how many people beaten to death, how many people enslaved and shackled through the 400, Jim Crow, how much redlining and discrimination, anything that led to an economic crippling of the black people has been calculated. And it's like trillions upon trillions of dollars. It would bankrupt this country if paid all out at once. If paid out all at once.
Spend trillions of dollars on our army and our military here in the United States. And we have the type of monetary system here where we can generate the amount of money that we want to.
Are you talking about creating money? How they print money? Tell the audience about that.
Well, I'm not an expert on any of this, that the Fed printing money. I'm not an economist. I'm not a financial advisor by any means. Now, yeah, please. Yes, but basically, I don't even remember what president it was that agreed to us being able to be a fiat banking system country, which was just allowed to print our money whenever we needed any amount of money. Pretty much anytime we do need federal funding, we go to our Federal Reserve and request the funds from the Federal Reserve. So there's a whole intricate banking system. I'm not a pro at it, but I do know that there's discretionary funding all the time for our military, for all types of funding. And our government can definitely give us these reparations. We have the resources. And if we can put that money back into these Black ancestors' children and brown children of America to repair America, think about what America could be, So I just want people to focus on how much money we're already giving out to other countries to support things that we're not even getting over here for our own communities. I think that if we took a lot of time to focus on what was really going on and who was really in charge, we would be really activated in voting. Vote for Kamala Harris 2024. Please just get involved in your community and learn what's really going on and learn how you can have an impact. I think that's just where we are. That's what we need to do.
My thing is, when I vote, I'm glad you brought up this election. When I vote, I don't technically vote one party or the other. I am a medical social worker. So what happens is I review candidacies based on who is most beneficial to the medical social work model, which means systems, programs, healing, holistic approach. And that tends to be a more progressive candidate.
It's not you're pitching Kamala Harris. Are you endorsing Kamala Harris? Are you leaning towards that party for 2024?
I haven't finished my research. So the thing is, we're going to pull it aside. Normally, about 2 weeks in, I do some heavy diving, 2 to 3 weeks in before early voting. And then that allows me to really make a full informed decision. It's been so great having you here. And I have really one question that I need to ask you before I send you out.
What's that?
If you're speaking to a young Black man or Black woman from our community or any community of color, can you tell them what is AJ's 3-step recipe for finding success? 3 steps. If you had to boil success down into 3 steps, knowing everything we talked about, knowing history and communities and disadvantages and everything like that, what would you say? What's a 3-step?
Reading, number 1.
Okay. Why reading? Why reading is so important?
You need to read, you need to educate, you need to learn about what it matters to you. You can read about whatever matters to you. It could be music, it could be art, it could be rap, it could be modeling. But whatever it is that you're passionate about, read about it, learn about it so you can have conversations and be able to learn and grow. Number 2 would be friends and family and community. Nobody does anything by themselves. That is a myth. That is a lie. That's not true. You have to have help, and you have to find it if that's not around you. And that's what reading can help you find. And then number 3 is success is not what people see, it's what they don't. So it's not what you're wearing and what you have. It's about what you do when people aren't watching you. Like that word of mouth that's always gonna win over anybody trying to, sell you something. And one thing about our community is we are the culture. You can't, insurance salesman us. You can't back end salesman us. We're not buying it. That's what I would tell young successful Black men is, it's not about looking successful. It's about doing things when people aren't watching that emulate success.
Wow. So let me recap. Reading to free and educate the mind. 2, community, leveraging the connections and people around you. And 3, understanding that for a while, success is invisible.
Yes.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That was good. I want you to take that with you. And AJ, again, coming down here, showing your successful side to the world. Thank you for being here with me on my podcast.
Yes, Leo, thank you for having me. I'm so proud of you.
Oh, thank you. If you want more conversations like this, more episodes like this, click, comment, subscribe. Be a part of the conversation and stay engaged. I'm Leo MonWell, and I talk about all things health, wellness, and success. Until next time, keep the conversation going below.